Good afternoon, good morning, good evening to everyone. I think we're just going to wait a couple, possibly not more minutes, but a couple of more seconds just to allow people to enter and gain access. It's great to have everyone on the call. I can see that the numbers are creeping up, and so without further ado, I will start the webinar. And thank you again to everyone who has joined us today. We're really pleased. We had over 500 registrants for this today's webinar, and it's just wonderful to see so many of our members engaging in this topic, and it's telling us something very important. My name is Fariba Shoatan. I'm the head of policy and research here at the ACU. Really pleased to be joined by some amazing speakers today. Just to start, before we begin and before I make introductions of our speakers, I just wanted to touch on, why we're doing this webinar, why we agreed to host it, and what it's sort of come out of various discussions that we've been having at the policy level. We know that AI and artificial intelligence, as it's known in its proper term, is no longer a peripheral discussion, particularly in higher education. And as we all know, the reason why we're here is that it's no longer optional. This webinar is a part of a series that started at ACU's Congress in Nairobi last year, and it's also part of an acknowledgement that universities across the Commonwealth are operating in an increasingly demanding environment. We've got rising student expectations, constrained public funding, growing geopolitical uncertainty, and accelerating digital transformation. At the Congress last year, leaders were clear: we need to improve productivity. Governments are telling us this. Institutional resilience is key, and equity across the Commonwealth is now a central strategic priority. And we know that AI sits at the intersection of all of these. But what we must acknowledge is that there's a tension there. AI has the incredible potential. It has the potential to modernize systems, to improve that productivity, personalize learning, strengthen research competitiveness, and free up human capacity for higher value work, more than any other transformation that we've witnessed, possibly in all of our lives. But at the same time, it is deeply divisive. It raises legitimate concerns around the academic integrity, data protection, bias and equity, workforce displacement, and certainly the digital divides that between institutions and countries that are exacerbated by access to resources. Importantly, across the Commonwealth, we face these in vastly different contexts. We're going to hear from 4 different experts today from very different contexts. Some institutions are experimenting with advanced generative AI strategies integrated into government frameworks, and others are navigating infrastructure limitations, bandwidth constraints, and faculty capability gaps, while still trying to ensure that their students are not left behind in a globally AI-driven economy. Access to AI and the capacity to use it responsibly will increasingly shape institutional competitiveness and national economic advantage. At CHOGM, the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting last year, heads of government emphasized economic resilience, digital inclusion, youth participation in the economy, and innovation-led growth are all key priorities for Commonwealth governments. The Commonwealth Secretariat's strategic plan also reinforced digital transformation, productivity, and inclusive economic participation as the core pillars of sustainable development. AI sits squarely within those agendas. So the question isn't therefore whether we use AI, but rather, will AI widen the divides between institutions or countries or students? And can it become a tool for shared resilience and equitable transformation, consistent with the values of the Commonwealth? Today's session, as I mentioned, is part of the ACU's AI in Higher Education series. And importantly, the insights that we gather from today will feed directly into our engagement with Commonwealth heads of government in Antigua later this year. So we're not discussing AI in theory. What we want to get out of today is to gather kind of real institutional experience that will shape how AI is understood and supported at the highest policy levels. So without further ado, and because I know you'll be keen to hear from our 4 outstanding speakers, I will introduce them now. We have Professor Matthew Montebello. who's the head of Department of Artificial Intelligence at the University of Malta. We have Dr. Ruth Karachi Benson Oji, who's the associate professor at Pan Atlantic University in Nigeria. We have Dr. James Ransom, who's the honorary senior research fellow at UCL Institute of Education in the UK. And finally, Professor Pradeep Kumar, who's the Director of Academic Affairs at ISBAT University in Uganda. We will hear from short, focused insights from each speaker and then move into a moderated discussion. So as we go through, I would encourage you to put your questions into the Q&A function rather than the chat, and we'll be monitoring those closely, and then have some time for questions and discussion in the final few minutes. So over to you, Matthew. Thank you.
Thank you very much. As highlighted, I'll be talking about governance more than anything, and I would like to take off right away with the fact that the university, the higher education institution in Malta, embraced the technology right away in different ways and in three tiers, not just for students, but also for administration, which includes all the senior management, all through governance, as well as the academics. So as training, we do perform this kind of outreach. Can I have the next slide, please? Next slide. And yes, I do strongly believe that the AI is not just a transformation through the pilots, but through the systems that we are implementing at all these three levels. The university has a clear governance, trying to build capability from admin and students in a responsible use and ethical way. Next slide, please. So one of them is guidelines and best practices. So it's a policy. Now it's about 2 years old. So quite quickly, right after GenAI was launched in November 2022, and it describes how GenAI can be used in a responsible, ethical way with a guided adoption, including students, including admin, and also through workshops that I will be going through briefly now. What we insist and we need to ensure that as faculty, we're on the same page about GenAI, about its academic potential, its cognitive pitfalls, which is a major issue, and ways to ensure integrity, academic integrity. The next slide. In fact, we do these three kinds of workshops. As I said, for academics, we have 3 workshops for academics. One of them has been held for these last 48 months, which is GenAI for teaching and assessment, because we feel that assessment was the major area that disruption occurred. I know that teaching had to adapt, but as far as assessment and with the generation of assignments, for example, the assessment became an issue not just at higher education, but at secondary schools and other institutions. We do a second workshop that I deliver is about how to employ generative AI, hands-on workshops, 3 to 6 hours, working with different tools on academic research and writing. So very hands-on, where we deliver this to not just to academics, but also at this point we're delivering it to students, doctoral students, master students, and now preparing to do it horizontally across all faculties. And the third kind of workshop is leveraging GenAI for data analysis and interpretation, whether it is quantitative or qualitative or mixed methods. We use GenAI tools in different ways. We try to push the idea of tools available, what are the pitfalls, what are the cognitive skills if you just copy and paste. So actually we do some kind of recommendations and best practices, again, which I refer to them later on. To the administrative staff, it's a completely different way. But again, we know for sure that administrative staff are using it. We know that senior management are using GenAI, are using AI in governance levels, but we want to be sure that they're being used in the correct way. So again, best practices and recommendations of how to use them. It could be an issue with IP. It could be an issue with privacy. So again, from an administrative point of view, we are giving these practical tools for our HR professionals, while also, for example, how to employ GenAI for advertising, communications, HR, and management. And finally, as I said, students taking all these 3 workshops again at a different sort of scoping, doctoral school for sure, where we deliver these workshops, as well as master students and undergraduate students. We know that students, we don't doubt, we know that students are using it before they get to our university, obviously, but so we assume right away 100% are being used. So we actually recommend on best practices rather than forbidden of how to use it. As I said, out of all this, the most critical part is the assessment. Next slide. Workshop 1. Yes, keep on going. Next slide. And this is part of what we do during the assessment. We're trying to assess the higher levels of cognition, deep learning, and eventually the idea is that we need to query the thought process rather than the output itself. So we're trying to avoid this cognitive offloading that students might develop by using these tools blindly and without even checking what the output is. Next slide. The second workshop is specific on research, academic, and writing. Literally, I'm showing you the handout that I delivered to students with the different tools. And we go through a workshop with step by step with the students, giving them the prompt, giving them the tools. And step by step, we build a literature review in about 3 to 6 hours, as I said, using these different tools in a efficient and productive way. Next slide. This is part of the steps for research. Next slide, where we find keywords and retrieve top cited papers. We get an RAS file. We search into Scopus. Next slide. We use this RAS file to identify the papers. This is particular software called Litmaps or connected papers. Next slide. And eventually download. And the third workshop focuses on data analysis, as I said, in a quantitative and qualitative way. Again, doing this with hands-on with students, so a system in place working already with students and academics. Next slide. Next slide, yes. And finally, I would like to close with this positioning GenAI as the institutional capability, which is a major potential. So hopefully what I want to pass on is that the university is there to control the governance, the assessment reform, capability building, and ethical guardrails. That nowadays that they're not optional discussions, they are strategic imperatives. The institutions that act deliberately at this point now can define the academic model of the next generation. Those who do not and will hesitate will only inherit it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Montefello. We'll hand over to Dr. Ruth Karachi.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ruth Oji from Pan Atlantic University. AI is transforming higher education globally, but this is the question we asked ourselves at PAU. How do we harness AI's power without widening the equity gaps that already exist? And that's because as African institutions, for us over here, we serve incredibly diverse student populations. We have people from different socioeconomic backgrounds, varying digital literacy, resource constraints, and if we're not intentional, AI can amplify those inequalities rather than reduce them. So at PAU, that's Pan Atlantic University, we decided governance first, then purposeful implementation with equity at the center. Before deploying any AI tools, we built a comprehensive policy framework grounded in what we call the CRIPS principles. For us, CRIPS stands for community, respect, integrity, service, and professionalism. Now, all of them put together, we have professionalism, integrity, objectivity, transparency, and adaptability. Now, this isn't just a document sitting on a shelf. It's a living framework we put together that guides how faculty teach, how students learn, and how we make institutional decisions about AI. We established clear use cases, we defined boundaries, we created tiered guidelines for AI use in student work, 20 to 30%, 31 to 50%, and so on, with corresponding consequences. Now, that's not to punish, but to maintain academic integrity while we're recognizing that AI can support learning, especially for students who need it most. And critically, we gave each academic department the flexibility to contextualize these principles for their discipline. And that's because what works in business may not work in engineering. Now, next slide, let me share 3 concrete ways we're putting this into practice. The first one is academic integrity with fairness. So first of all, we integrated AI detection into our learning management system through Turnitin. Now, this gives us real-time intelligence on AI-generated or AI paraphrased content in student submissions. But here is the equity piece. We're not using this to catch and punish the students. We're using it to have honest conversations about responsible AI use. Our tiered policy means students understand the boundaries, and faculty as well can support students who legitimately need AI assistance, like English language learners or students with learning disabilities. And what's the impact for us? It gives room for fair assessment, clear expectations, and support for diverse learners rather than just having blanket prohibitions. Second, we're building an AI-powered knowledge base agent using Microsoft Copilot and RAG technology, that's retrieval augmented generation. Now, you might be wondering what problem it solves. It's that institutional knowledge is scattered. Admission requirements, staff policies, academic procedures. Students spend lots of hours searching for answers, and those of them that do not have insider connections are at a disadvantage. So our agent centralizes this knowledge in one conversational interface accessible via Microsoft Teams. Students and staff can ask questions in natural language and get accurate contextual responses drawn from PAU's verified institutional sources. Now, why this matters for equity is that it reduces information asymmetry. Every student gets the same high-level institutional knowledge, regardless of their background or connections. So we're using role-based access control again, so students only see information that's appropriate for them and sensitive data stays protected. And because it's RAG based, the AI isn't making things up. It's not hallucinating. It's retrieving from our vetted sources. And this gives rise to full transparency. Well, we're still testing this in-house. We're gathering feedback. We're monitoring for bias. We're ensuring data privacy. We're not rushing deployment because getting it right matters a lot to us more than getting it fast. Now, the third area of implementation, next slide, is in faculty research. Individual faculty are using AI for research, acceleration, and post-assessment analytics. This helps them to identify students who are struggling much earlier, and then they can intervene before it's too late. And that's an equity issue as well. So data-driven insights enable proactive support rather than just reactive grading. Next slide. I'd like to be honest about what we're still figuring out. Moving from policy to practice takes time. We're actively monitoring for bias in AI outputs, especially around student success predictions. We're ensuring that efficiency gains don't come at the cost of excluding students with limited device access or connectivity. And we're training faculty not just on how to use AI, but on the ethics of AI use. Again, data privacy is non-negotiable for us. Even with powerful tools, we only feed non-sensitive institutional data into our systems. Yes, this might limit some efficiency gains, but it does protect our students, and that's the right trade-off for us. And to conclude, this is what I want you to take away and what I hope reaches policymakers at the much later events that will be held. AI can actually advance equity in Commonwealth higher education, but that will be only if we're intentional. I would say that governance matters before deployment. Transparency throughout matters. Cultural context always, that should be put at the forefront. And at PAU, we're showing that you don't need massive budgets to be thoughtful about AI adoption. You need clear principles, you need strategic pilots, and a commitment to serving all your students, not just the ones who already have advantages. African institutions are innovating under constraints. Now, these lessons about equity, efficiency, and responsible adoption are as valuable as those from well-resourced institutions. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Benson. So I can see that we've already got a question in the Q&A box, but what I'll do is keep them coming. So please do put some questions that we can take at the end, and we'll take questions as they come in. So sorry, at the very end, so that we can allow everyone to speak. And I'll pass over to Dr. James Ransom. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm going to tell a story about two universities. We'll call them University A and University B. So if you picture a town or city near you and imagine that there are these two institutions there, and we'll visit University A first. So the Vice Chancellor at University A is worried about AI. They've heard a lot about it. In the past, their institution has been accused of being a bit slow to react. So they want to be proactive with AI. So they do what any good leader does, and they form a working group. And one of the first things the working group comes up with is we're going to do AI literacy training for all staff and all students. So every semester, a student will take a module on generative AI. All staff take an AI literacy module alongside their fire safety and their data protection. And that's rolled out across the whole institution. But the VC wants to do more. So they want to be really cutting edge. So they bring in some tech companies and they invite them to propose solutions. And they go with one and they roll out a frontier AI model across the entire institution. Every staff and every student gets unlimited access to the cutting edge AI tailored to education use. And they're surprised it's quite affordable. And the same tech company looks at the back office and says, well, okay, there's some easy cost savings here. We'll roll it out in 6 months. You'll have covered your costs. So they do this. The Vice Chancellor is quite proud. They've been proactive. They've introduced some new technology. They've streamlined the back office and they've saved money. They then position their university as being AI first. We're now going to cross, that's University A. We're going to cross town and visit University B. The Vice Chancellor at University B is a bit worried about AI. They've heard a lot about it. They've been accused in the past of being a little bit slow to adopt the latest technology. So they also want to be proactive. But they're a little bit slow. Some of their staff are looking across town at University A and they can see that, oh, they've already rolled out this cutting edge LLM across all staff and students. Why are we not doing the same? But the Vice Chancellor sets up a working group and they do things a little bit differently with this working group. So they take a longer term horizon. They look 5 to 10 years ahead. They also invite different groups in. So they have different student groups. They have staff from different faculties. And they also bring in local government and local businesses. Crucially, they ask a question of what does AI mean for our local area? What does it mean for our region? Instead of just what does AI mean for our institution? As you can imagine, this working group is a bit messy. It takes a long time to pull its report together. But when it does, one thing comes out really clear. And that is that it's not just the university that's wondering about what AI means for society. The Vice Chancellor also takes some actions. So they actually increase the budget for staff and they increase the investment budget. The board are a bit confused. Isn't AI supposed to save us money? But they continue anyway. They also introduce very small budgets for all staff and students to experiment with different AI tools to see what the limitations are, to see what's possible in practice, to see where the problems are with implementation. They expand this to local businesses. So they work with local businesses. Students are seconded in. And they also, it turns out that students are actually really good at finding the limits of these systems when it comes to solving real business problems. There's quite a permissive use of AI. So staff and students are allowed to use it as long as they're very open about how they use it. But funnily enough, it turns out that after a while, some students actually stop using it because they prefer not to. In the back office, there's also permissive use. and there's pilots, and staff are encouraged to try their own. The IT department has quite a tight view on what you can train it on, but staff do experiment. Most of the pilots fail, but a few of them take off and save quite a bit of money. These are then rolled out, and there's a bit of friction as workflows are redesigned. There's no new advertising campaign, but the reputation of University B is slowly spreading as a place where they test new ideas and collaborate. So that's University B. So in my experience, most universities are fitting more closely into the University A model rather than University B. And with a co-author of mine, we termed the kind of what University A is doing as the resilience trap. So you're faced with an unknowable future and you try to build up your defenses against it. So you put in place lots of policies, lots of training programs, lots of contracts, as opposed to University B's approach, which is more trying to shape that unknowable future. Of course, the issue with University B's approach is that you do need the resources, even limited resources for experimentation, which is really why cross-sector working and cross-institutional working and the work of organizations like the ACU is so important. So I'm going to finish with just three takeaways. So the first is that you are not alone in this. So pretty much every medium and large organization near you will, in their boardroom, they'll be having similar discussions about how can we become more efficient and how can we use AI to become more transformative. And there's a leadership role here for universities to be shaping these discussions, to be the place where the future of AI is discussed. It's not a predetermined future. Secondly, AI is not a shortcut. It's not a quick fix. Be very careful about signing a 3-year contract for a technology that's changing every 3 months. There is a need to invest, to experiment, and be very cautious about companies who approach you offering an easy fix with a software rollout. Especially, there's a lot of consultancies looking at cash-strapped higher education institutions, so there needs to be a bit of caution there. And finally, AI, I encourage you to look at AI more as a form of unreliable labor than a tool. So a calculator is a tool and it gets answers right all the time, but AI is not in the same way. So treat it, as this sort of unreliable form of labor. Treat it differently. Its implementation is messy, complex, context dependent. It's a very human actual process, and so that is actually something I think where universities can excel. Thank you.
Thank you, James. And I think that we're starting to hear some messages really resonate throughout the presentation. So thank you for that. Finally, our very distinguished guest, Dr. Pradeep Kumar, will be our final speaker, and then we can move into discussion. Please do keep the questions coming in.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I would like to present that why AI matters. On this first part, I will not take much time because now I believe most of the world, they know that why AI matters now at all. And I will take more time on the second part, that what ISBAT University in Uganda has implemented, what challenges we had and how did we tackle and what results we got. So if we go to the next slide, we will see that, yes, some statistics, just one more click. Yes. So we will see that AI is basically having all the areas. When we see the statistics, you will find previous slide, please. You will find that the AI and robotics, which actually was 15.2 billion in 2023, as per the recent records and the reports, it is projected to grow more than 111 billion by 2023. It means around the world, the number of devices which people are using, already there is an annual growth rate of 22.1%. Also, as per the World Global GDP report, it is currently 15.7 trillion. It is going to be by 2030, like trillion. So currently it is going in billions and now it is going to be in trillion. So when we go in the growth of global AI and global AI chip, it means there is a massive growth in every area. Next, please. So you will see why it matters, because in agriculture, even in Uganda, this picture which I am showing here, this is actually we are using in Uganda, not by the university, but in Uganda in the agriculture, we already are working. The university is providing the guidelines to the farmers here also, that how they can apply AI in the in kind of irrigation engineering and also in the harvesting. Next, please. So in aerospace, we can go next in every 1 or 2 seconds. We can change these slides. Like in aerospace, like there is a projection that it is in 2021, it was 2.1 billion amount which was invested, which is going to be 4.9 billion. So from 2021 to 2026, which is this year going on now, so the projections are going almost double, and the speed of investments will grow more than that. And also the hyperlink, if you will see, these are the exact report of the market research. Next, please. So AI is also being applied in automotive. Even our students in our university has applied AI to create its own chopper. Like when they are going how to design the vehicle also, not at very high level. In the world, it is going very high, but in the vehicle level also we have implemented. We can go next. So in food chain and everywhere it is going on already. When you see today pizza shops or burgers, everywhere, even the delivery or order taking, AI is being used. Next. Healthcare, like when somebody is having some medical problems, AI is definitely is in demand to make the person for rehabilitation. Next. In household, like everybody knows that robots and the AI which is functioning is taking every work and majority of the things at house also. Next, please. In manufacturing also, like you will see all motor automobiles, every industry now going on automotive with AI. So next, please. This is military already now. In many militaries, it has been used in the kind of bomb mining or any kind of attacks people are using, and it already has been started in last. Unfortunately, like when the war is always unfortunate, is not good. So when in the last time the war happened at Vietnam, these all equipments were used AI. So AI is not only in one area. There is no area in the world where AI is not impacting. Next, please. Also in supply chain, like when you go on logistics or any other area, AI is very much applied. We can go next. So this is the matter when we talk about the business, even like when we teach the human resource management, how AI is taking care into the automation of your resumes or predictive analysis, which candidate will be better. So when we have in our own university, the HR system, we get a number of different CVs from different places. So in the administrative, what our AI tool is doing in our ERP system, it automatically fine tune that as per requirement, which are the right candidates, and accordingly it can save our time to find out the prospective candidate which will be suitable to our requirement. Next, please. This is the current report which is coming on the bottom. You will see there is a blog and the latest report, AI in business. You will find normally earlier people were believing AI means computers or technologies, it is to be applied there only. But surprisingly, if you will see the report, the most of the implementation currently, more than 50%, that is 56%, already it is being applied in businesses for customer services, cyber, digital, and so on. So almost by next few years, almost 3 to 4 years time, you will find minimum 50 to 60% every sector will be going to convert in AI. Next, please. So this is what now I want to focus on ISBAT University. What practical use case initially we faced problems in Uganda, and how did we handle all those problems, and what we are using, implementing the resource constraints to gaining of the advantage of AI. Next, please. Initially, what we had challenges, number one, infrastructure. it was not easily available. Still, what we find, most of the equipments we are not able to get in Africa, in Uganda. So we need to get it by Dubai or some other countries. So this is indeed a challenge, infrastructure, how to get that. Second thing comes that financial constraint. Major universities talk about that funding is a big problem. But when we talk about funding, we will share further that how we handle our situations, because we are a private university, not a government funded university. The government gives funding to the private or to the public universities. But we also had the financial challenges, skill gaps, that students and the faculty members initially they were not trained on AI. Then equity, that how to provide different balancing between urban and rural areas. Students who are in our university, they are from diverse background. So all these were challenges, but we worked on all these challenges. In the next slide, please, we will show that what exactly we have now maintained. So this is the first practical use of ISBAT University. In our admissions, we have applied AI tools, AI chat box, and you will see these are the actual clippings, screenshots from the different websites and news that our students, not only now they are learning AI, the downside, it shows Campus B. There is a website, Campus B, which highlighted that students of our university not only learning but creating AI solutions for others. So this is a big transformation has been done, that how the university is helping in predictive analysis. And of course, we are using that when you use AI, we apply NLP, IoTs, all these techniques to convert the normal human language understandable to the IoTs, to the robots or machines. Next, please. Apart from our admissions, we are also using in advising students. We have our own inbuilt, our own developed software, which is called iLearn, which is the learning management software, LMS, which shows on the screen. Like if you will see here, every student, when they are reading, the system automatically intelligently checks how much chapters, how many pages, what is the progression of a students in learning, and system itself find out what is the completion of course completion when they are doing studies by their own for our online students. Next, please. In student services also, our all system and portals are automated, where we have in every place the AI based devices where it sense the presence of a student, and automatically by the sensors, when they check that the students are inside through the biometric devices also and sensors, then automatically it updates that what is the attendance of the students, which room, what time they were available. And also it provide assistance to the students for chat and different discussions. So student services and all support, if they have any doubt, AI also is helping its own. Next, please. This is like we also innovated last year in 2025. The university started like this robot was taken in parts from other country, but it was assembled here in Uganda. And also we made programmed AI programming by our own team members, our faculty mentors and students. So it came in newspaper, and also we have very high-tech AI lab, AI hub for innovation, so that all people can get together and share the resources. Next, please. This is okay, some videos, but because of some restrictions, we can just go to the next slide. These videos actually shows that how we can go on. We are doing, not only we are learning or teaching AI, but also we are implementing AI in the industries and in different corporates. So what lessons actually we got when we were having problems in implementing AI? Number one is I would like to share that incremental adoption is very important. It is not possible that some university or organization can start implementing AI from the day one. We need to make small starts and start applying some small tools. Then we need to work on capacity building, that all the manpower we need to train. So we conducted a number of workshops so that our faculty members, our administrator, our people in counseling, in accounting, in administrative, student support services, how to use AI tools. Then we had a lot of partnerships. Recently, we have done a partnership with Football Association of Uganda. So that is called FUFA, the Football Uganda Association, and also with FUFA Television. What we are doing with this partnership, we are doing AI prediction for the Football Association of Uganda. So together with them, our team of experts and our students will get placement, they will get jobs, and also they will help them how to apply AI in Football Association to find out the analysis, who is doing goal from which part or who is the best goaler, everything they will find out in this work. And also we are working on student empowerment and the future look that we definitely are working that to make core competency. AI is to be core competency for every kind of program. University need to balance. One thing is there when we allow students to work on AI, we need to be very careful. They should not go copy paste. Then there should be clear guidelines. We have applied Turnitin, we have applied like Drillbit, another software, plagiarism, for checking the plagiarism, which checks how much is taken from AI tools and how much is taken from different websites. So rules and regulations, policies need to be clear. And also when we talk about resource constraints, then definitely we need to find out that how we can overcome from these resources. One of the easy way is, why don't you start in incremental approach, and rather than buying all the infrastructure, what you can do that you can go on like software as a service, infrastructure as a service. There are lots of technologies are available around the world on cloud and edge computing, where rather than as the administrator of the university, you need not to buy everything in one go. You can go on small things on cloud, small amount of things you can have, and without buying the entire software or entire infrastructure, we can go an incremental model and we can overcome from the financial challenges. So thank you so much. This was from the ISBAT University, what we have done. Thank you so much.
Fantastic, and thank you, Dr. Kumar. It's great to hear some of the messages really resonating across all the four different presentations. And one of the key messages that I really heard throughout was a sort of not cautioning, but the potential for AI is really clear across institutions, but actually lessons about the pace and the strategy about not trying to get it right necessarily, but actually investing in it as a long-term sort of solution. I think that's a really key thing to keep in mind. I also heard that it's not just about the kind of technical solution that it can bring, but it's very much dependent on the political will of the institution. It's very cultural in terms of the kind of impacts that it can have across both student life, academic buy-in, but also it's partnership based, and the kind of lessons around partnering with industry and students in defining and shaping what that looks like across institutions is really important. We have a few questions that have come in, and that's fantastic. I'm going to start with one that is sort of setting the scene. How well is AI sort of being deployed by higher education learning institutions in your own context, from your opinion, and what are the ways in which we can really maximize and integrate that into knowledge production? And I guess, sort of speaking, what would be the first sort of step to doing that? I'll start with perhaps we can go backwards. So Dr. Kumar, and then if anyone else would like to come in.
Yes, thank you. Actually, when we are going for applying AI in content generation, there are a lot of paid versions also and unpaid versions also, especially when we talk about the developing countries. Always the one challenge comes funding because tools, equipments. So don't go for paid versions initially. Why to go for paid versions? Google recently have launched more than 16 apps where it helps for automotive or content developer. What you need to do is simply you create a normal PDF file. After creation of a PDF file, put it to the Google AI. And from Google AI, you can choose from the applications that what you want. Do you want from your contents to generate PPT? Do you want to creation of your some videos? Do you want some kind of question answer sessions for your students? Just choose, click, in minutes, everything is done. So Google is one of the examples. Similarly, there are lots of generative AI tools which are available free of cost to the users, like Gamma or different kind of softwares, where you need not to learn AI, but you need to learn how to use AI. So, what message I would like to give to all our audience, that what we need to do, you need to think applying AI in two perspectives. One perspective is how to develop. For developing, you require infrastructure, you require resources, you require expertise. But for that, if you want better, go in parts, go for one department, then other department, an incremental way. But other thing is, if you want to start using AI, what matters first to start using rather than first focus on developing, because already the world has developed a lot of things. Don't go on that investment. First, learn how to apply which is already available. Learn that. So business analytics, forecasting, making of what if analysis, all things are already available free of cost. Just use, learn, and it can be applied. It is just a matter of our willingness, that how much we want to do, and everything is available. It is simple to use, nothing to be complicated. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Dr. Kumar. Would anyone else like to come in on that question? Dr. Ransom.
Thanks. Yeah, I'll just add two very quick things. The first, I think, is to try and encourage. I think there's a lot of, in pretty much every institution, a lot of shadow usage of AI, staff and students. So the first step is to create an environment where staff and students feel safe to talk about what they're doing with AI rather than hiding it, which I think, this is staff as much as students. Secondly, I think the big tech companies do not necessarily have the same interests at heart as universities. So be very careful about locking in to any particular model. These tools are free for a reason where they're free. So just be a little bit careful. Sovereign lock-in is a real issue if you're tied to a US model when it comes to all the data and all the rest of it. So yeah, just a note of caution.
That's really useful. And any other inputs on that question? Otherwise, we can move to the next one, which I think is a really good question. And we've touched on this a little bit in the presentations around how do we meaningfully build capacity amongst staff. So we've talked about the student adoption, and often that's sort of accelerated beyond even the staff that are meant to be teaching it. How do we institutionalize that across across the institution for that adoption or that shift to be meaningful across the institution? Anyone would like to come in? I won't.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
Dr.
speak to
Benson.
that. Yes. Well, for one thing, staff could be trained, especially academic staff. And when academic staff is trained on AI use, that helps to move an institution from experimentation to real productivity. And that's because when lecturers themselves know how to use AI well, it helps them to save time on routine tasks. They would be able to design stronger learning experiences and then can focus more on mentoring and on research. So every institution has to do a lot on institutionalizing it. That's the use of AI by putting things, training, number one, at the forefront so that people know exactly how to use this. I think that some of the pushbacks we've seen about AI use is that people don't know how to use it, and they're supposed to be checking, for example, in quotes, students who use them, and they begin to think that it's a bad thing. But every lecturer, in most cases, will seem to be swamped by work. But if they do know how to use AI, it helps to reduce their workload. They use it to draft outlines, summarize literature, generate quizzes, analyze data, clean their transcripts, structure their feedback. And that kind of takes away the hours and hours that they spend every week doing mundane tasks, and then they can focus more on deeper thinking. Student engagement and productivity is really increased. Even at the institutional level, we see the thing of consistency and reduced risks, because if staff are trained, they follow shared ethical standards. So everyone knows. So limitations like bias, hallucinations, all of those are eradicated or reduced. and then they can use approved tools responsibly. So it's not going to be a one size fits all for every context, but every institution can try to do their best to have some kind of coordinated governance-led approach to the use of AI. And I think that this would really help.
Thank you, Dr. Oji. Anyone else would like to come in on that question?
Yes, I would just like to explain that what we have done. Like, I am the head of academics, and I'm also a professor who is teaching to MBAs, MSCI masters, and PhDs. So, what we have done as an administrator, we have implemented some specific guidelines for the capacity building. One guideline is that every academic session, when we commence, every departmental head need to develop their academic planning for the next academic session. So this capacity building program is a mandatory part, that what capacity development, faculty development program, FDPs, and management development program, MDPs, they have in plan for next 6 months. So every beginning of the semester, it has to be a part in the academic planning. Second thing is, it also has been done on their annual appraisals. When, for all technical members, it comes to the time of annual appraisals, there is a clause that how many new skills they have learned. So this is one of the, so if we want our members to develop the capacity in AI or any new coming up emerging trends, then it has to be imbibed into the university policies. Otherwise, by itself, it is very difficult to be done. And second thing is, what we have done, we have our session plans in universities. Apart from the session plan, we also have a teaching plan, which is called the institutional pedagogy. Like already Professor Matthew has shared the Bloom's taxonomy, there are 6 levels. Remember, then understanding, apply all the 6 levels of learning. Similarly, we have implemented 6 level of teaching using the Bloom's taxonomy, that in our examples of teaching, how much we are giving the real life examples, connecting the teaching with real life and how technology can make the life easy. Because the world today doesn't need hardworking people, it needs smart working people. Do hard work, but with technology, so that what people were doing earlier, the work in 10 days, you can do in maybe 10 minutes. So this is what need to be adopted in a smart working. This is we have imbibed in our curriculum, in our institutional policy and faculty staff appraisal, that they have to do one. And if they need some support, they can give to the management their requirement. We are not
Yeah,
putting
that's
burden
great.
to the faculty members. Give your requirement, what you want, which month you want to do, but it is the target of faculty members that you have to learn. But
Thank
if
you.
you need some
Yeah,
support, you need some kind of training, you
yeah,
want some kind of funding, we will arrange. That is the
thank you.
role of management, that how we support. But
Yeah,
the role of management to make policy, regulations, and then regular monitoring of like all the things are going on in the right direction, strategic planning. And we need to see that faculty appraisal, the promotions, increments are linked with performance. Then the things move
thank you,
sort of.
Dr. Kumar. I'm conscious of time, so I just want to bring in Professor Montebello into the conversation. And you talked a lot about the kind of governance frameworks that need to be in place. I wondered if you could just expand on what you think is actually required from senior leadership to implement a kind of strategy around this in the first 12 months, for example, and what might be one governance mistakes that universities are most likely to make in implementing an AI strategy.
Oh yeah, I do agree with Dr. James Ransom that you do not need to rush through these things. Definitely not to push all your eggs into one basket for sure. But definitely education, AI literacy, even at senior level. Just this week I had a session with the senior management in our university, starting from rector, pro-rectors, and all the directors, from knowledge transfer office to communication, HR, and even earmarking these people on how the technology works. Literally a couple of slides of what AI is, all the way to best practices. I think, and somebody asked this question as well in the Q&A, if there are any best practices. For example, one best practice was, again, Dr. Renson mentioned, to be transparent about it. Yes, it's a good, really good best practice. Another one would be accountability. So it applies to students, it applies to my staff, it applies to everybody. Are you accountable? Can you walk me through the process or your thought process of what you have just given me? And again, other recommendations of use these systems to get ideas rather than answers. Use more than one system to get these ideas rather than going for one, prompting one question and taking that for granted blindly as the correct answer. So these issues are happening across the board, not just students, right? Not just academics, but also admin and also at senior level. At senior level, policy making is happening, so they need to know stuff. For example, one of them is that the assessment procedures need to change because, first of all, in my case, I completely discourage the use of exams because I don't think it's a natural way to do. So there needs to be a change into more formative, using oral vivas, which are much more natural and more to the point to gain an insight of what the student is giving me for assessment. So again, walk me through the thought process rather than give me the answer. Apart from that, for example, with the communications office, again, at strategic level, they need not just change at a governance level, but also how they're going to be using this for in a holistic way across university. And finally, one final example, one was the assessment, and one was, for example, how vivas are held, for example. In our case, it has to become at what we call at Senate level, whether one academic can assess a student in a viva on his or her own, or doesn't need somebody else within that session. So numerous ways, and again, it needs to be a tiered implementation, starting from the top, training their own people, and eventually, in another way, the students, and another way, the academics. Three different areas, three different domains, and they need different kind of training.
Yeah, thank you. And really good remarks to kind of close off on. I apologize that we weren't able to get to all the questions, but what this is, I will remind registrants, but also speakers as well. This is the first of a series of webinars that we want to do on the subject of AI. And as you can see, the topic is so broad and so encompassing of a multitude of different areas that institutions are, not only the expectations on institutions to engage more in this, but also to be the drivers of both the learning and teaching of the next generation of students, but also the ways in which the kind of ethical questions that governments themselves will be facing. And I know that there's been a few questions that have come up around students and how AI, the kind of ethics around how AI is potentially kind of limiting their own learning and their own development in terms of the skills and what they come out of from universities. And that will be the subject of the next webinar. So I'll encourage everyone to please stay tuned. We will include a link to our events page in the follow-up email, but also just to make sure that people are engaged in what the ACU is doing in this space. As I mentioned, the insights from this discussion feed into our policy and advocacy messaging. And if there is capacity building or work that we can do across our membership, sharing good practice, but also in terms of our kind of program rollout, that is something that we always take into consideration. So it's fantastic to hear feedback. Please do fill out the feedback form afterwards. If there's a topic that you're particularly interested in, or indeed in kind of continuing the conversation, we will get back to you and make sure that that's part of our follow-up. So just to give you an idea of what's upcoming, we do have a webinar that's coming up on March 10th, and that is showcasing our King's Commonwealth Fellowship Program scholars who are taking part in one of our international mobility programs, which allows scholars within small island developing states to undertake a PhD with a partner based in a higher income country, and to get that kind of overarching kind of mentorship, but also to develop solutions to climate and sustainability development crises or resilience in their own context. So we'll be hearing about their research, but also about the program itself and how to get involved. So thank you again to our speakers. Thank you for giving your time, your expertise. Please let's continue the conversation. And thank you to the many registrants who joined us today, and also those who will be receiving the recording. We're very grateful for your time, and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.